France's reconnaissance, naval, and support aircraft served as the essential backbone of French air power. From glass-nosed observation platforms to giant transatlantic flying boats, from dependable trainers to versatile transports, these unsung aircraft performed vital missions far from glamorous fighter combat. 25 reconnaissance, naval, and support aircraft operated across European skies, Mediterranean waters, and Atlantic expanses, representing French aviation's practical foundation, repeatedly overshadowed by fighter and bomber operations, yet absolutely essential for sustained military aviation operations.
Reconnaissance aircraft. Let's begin with France's reconnaissance aircraft, Potez 63.11, the all-seeing eye, becoming France's most numerous reconnaissance aircraft during the campaign. Approximately 700 operational during Battle of France. Variant of Potez 630 fighter, redesigned with distinctive glass nose for observer. Powered by twin 700 horsepower Gnome-Rhone 14M radial engines reaching 264 miles per hour maximum. Armed with three 7.5mm machine guns for defensive purposes. Crews flew extremely dangerous missions deep over German lines, gathering desperately needed intelligence. Suffered catastrophic losses, but provided vital battlefield information throughout campaign. Block MB-174, already covered in Part 1 as bomber, but reconnaissance represented its primary operational role. Approximately 56 produced from 1940, powered by twin 1,140 horsepower Gnome-Rhone 14N radial engines, reaching 329 miles per hour. So extraordinarily fast and high-flying that German fighters simply couldn't intercept successfully. Armed with 7.5mm machine guns. Famous author Antoine de Saint-Exupéry flew reconnaissance missions describing its remarkable speed and grace. Intelligence-gathering masterpiece when France desperately needed accurate battlefield information about German movements. Block MB-175, the successor to famed 174 series, offering enhanced reconnaissance capability. Only prototypes operational when fighting stopped. Powered by twin Gnome-Rhone 14N radial engines. Highly modern three-seat reconnaissance bomber combining exceptional speed with sophisticated observation equipment. Armed with 7.5mm machine guns throughout defensive positions. Performance characteristics remained undeniable despite tragically limited production. Clearly represented direction French aviation industry was heading before catastrophic collapse, needing only additional development time. Mureau 117, the dependable workhorse performing unglamorous but absolutely essential observation missions. Approximately 120 produced from 1935. High-wing monoplane used extensively for liaison and battlefield observation duties. Single 860 horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12Y inline engine, reaching 193 miles per hour. Armed with three 7.5mm machine guns. Although technically obsolete by 1940 standards, remarkable reliability kept it in frontline service. Artillery spotters depended heavily on it. Simple to maintain, easy to fly, and available in adequate numbers when desperately needed. Potez 39. The artillery spotter, providing essential fire direction throughout early war period. Approximately 300 produced from 1931. Sturdy two-seat observation platform with high-wing configuration. Single 580 horsepower Gnome-Rhone 14K radial engine reaching 143 miles per hour. Though completely overshadowed by newer designs, provided absolutely essential artillery spotting and tactical liaison services. High-wing design offered excellent downward visibility. Slow and pathetically vulnerable against modern fighters, but effectively directed French artillery fire against German positions. Potez 25, the legend, representing interwar French aviation's greatest international success. Approximately 3,500 produced from 1925. Legendary biplane observation aircraft used by dozens of nations worldwide. Single 450 horsepower Lorraine 12E inline engine. By 1939, relegated entirely to advanced training schools and colonial policing duties throughout French Africa. Remarkable endurance and worldwide service proved French interwar aviation design excellence and considerable global influence. Production numbers remained unmatched by most contemporary designs across all nations. Naval aviation. Moving on to France's naval aviation, seaplanes and flying boats. Latécoère 298, the main offensive floatplane providing France's primary torpedo attack capability. Approximately 100 served French Navy from 1938, three-seater specifically designed for torpedo attack and coastal patrol missions. Single 880 horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12Y inline engine, reaching 180 miles per hour on floats. Armed with two 7.5mm machine guns, carrying one standard 670mm torpedo or conventional bombs. Saw extensive action during Norway campaign and throughout Mediterranean theater. Both Free French and Vichy forces continued operating them after June 1940 armistice. Loire 130, the standard shipboard reconnaissance floatplane equipping French Navy's major vessels. Approximately 150 built from 1937. Single 720 horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12Y inline engine, reaching 137 miles per hour maximum. Armed with two 7.5mm machine guns for defensive purposes. Robust and exceptionally reliable, equipped on almost every major French cruiser and battleship throughout 1930s and 1940s. Launched from shipboard catapults, recovered by crane operations. Several survived war, continuing service until 1951 throughout French colonial territories.
Breguet 521, Bizerte. The ocean giant performing long-range maritime patrol over vast Atlantic expanses. 34 built between 1933 to 1939. Massive four-engine flying boat designed for extended patrol missions. Four 900-horsepower Gnome-Rhone 14K radial engines, reaching 149 miles per hour. Armed with five 7.5mm machine guns throughout defensive positions. Could remain airborne exceeding 12 hours on extended patrols. Primary operational roles included anti-submarine warfare and search and rescue operations. Vichy forces operated several until Germans captured them November 1942. Latécoère 521, the biggest French aircraft ever built, representing transatlantic aviation ambition. Single example completed 1935. At maiden flight, this was the largest aircraft France ever constructed. Four 860 horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12Y inline engines, reaching 130 miles per hour. Originally designed for luxurious transatlantic passenger service between France and South America. Set multiple seaplane records, including remarkable 5,800-kilometer flight in 34 hours. Militarized 1940 for Atlantic patrol missions. Damaged beyond possible repair 1944 by retreating German forces. Latécoère 522, the second giant named Ville de Saint-Pierre, continuing transatlantic ambitions. Production version following successful 521 design. Four 860 horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12Y inline engines. Originally designed specifically for transatlantic mail service across South Atlantic. Rapidly militarized at war outbreak for maritime reconnaissance patrol duties. Taken over by Vichy forces following June 1940 armistice. Eventually destroyed completely by retreating German troops during 1944 withdrawal. Another giant aircraft that never reached its tremendous operational potential. Latécoère 302, the mail carrier transformed into warrior through military necessity. Heavy three-engine flying boat adapted for military patrol operations. Three 650 horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12X inline engines. Incredible operational range made it absolutely perfect for extended ocean surveillance missions. Based directly on successful Latécoère 300, which set multiple seaplane records throughout 1930s. Civilian design meeting urgent military necessity when war demanded long-range maritime reconnaissance capability over vast Atlantic expanses, protecting crucial shipping lanes. CAMS 141, the long-range guardian designed for extreme maritime patrol missions. Gigantic four-engine flying boat with exceptional endurance.
4 720-horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12Y inline engines. Despite impressive theoretical capability for extended ocean patrols protecting vital shipping lanes, only single example actually became operational when war broke out. Clearly showed France thoroughly understood operational need for maritime patrol aircraft, but catastrophically couldn't produce sufficient numbers in time before strategic collapse occurred. Lioré 70. The aging patroller continuing service despite advancing obsolescence. Large 3-engine flying boat used for maritime reconnaissance duties. 3 650-horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12N inline engines, reaching 124 miles per hour maximum. By 1939, clearly starting to show its advancing age compared to newer designs entering service, yet still performed absolutely vital patrol duties throughout Mediterranean Sea and North Atlantic waters. Remarkable endurance kept it relevant even as more modern designs emerged. Reliability mattered enormously in extended patrol work. Levasseur PL-7. The carrier aircraft representing France's limited carrier aviation development. Outdated single-seat carrier-based floatplane used early in war. Operated from French aircraft carrier Béarn. Single 650-horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12H inline engine. Quickly withdrawn from frontline service due to catastrophically poor performance compared to land-based fighters. By 1940 standards, clearly obsolete technology. Represented France's severely limited carrier aviation development compared to American, British, and Japanese programs. Briefly served from desperate necessity during phony war period. Potez 540. The flying veranda, obsolete pre-war bomber converted to transport duties. Approximately 192 produced from 1934. Twin 690-horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12X inline engines, reaching 193 miles per hour. Known for distinctive high-wing configuration and extensively glazed nose section. By 1939, already completely outdated for combat operations. Hopelessly slow and pathetically vulnerable against modern fighters. Relegated primarily to colonial duties, transport roles, or desperate freight runs where enemy fighters weren't expected. Saw considerably more service as transport than combat aircraft. Transport, liaison, and trainers. Finally, the backbone keeping French air power operational. Caudron C445 Golande. The goal, becoming France's most successful light transport throughout war. Over 1,700 built from 1934. Highly successful twin-engine design known for excellent reliability and superb visibility characteristics. Twin 220-horsepower Renault 6Q inline engines reaching 186 miles per hour. Served extensively for liaison and personnel movement throughout war and well into post-war era. Both Vichy and Free French forces operated them simultaneously. Stylish, exceptionally dependable, remarkably versatile. Civilian design becoming essential military workhorse through practical necessity. Bloch MB220. The airliner goes to war through urgent military necessity. Highly successful French pre-war passenger airliner. Twin 900-horsepower Gnome-Rhone 14K radial engines reaching 217 miles per hour maximum. With hostilities outbreak, immediately pressed into crucial military transport service throughout all theaters. Spacious fuselage effectively carried troops, vital supplies, and wounded personnel. Characteristics making it comfortable for passengers became eminently practical for urgent military logistics operations. Many survived war successfully, returning to profitable airline service after liberation. Potez 650. The triple-engine hauler designed specifically for military transport operations. 3 580-horsepower Gnome-Rhone 14K radial engines reaching 168 miles per hour. large aircraft providing excellent reliability and adequate power for moving important supplies and personnel between widely separated bases. Utilized heavily during phony war period for logistics operations. Substantial cargo capacity made it valuable for essential logistics support. Military aviation isn't exclusively fighters and bombers. Transport capacity ultimately wins protracted wars through sustained logistics. Farman F-224, the heavy lifter adapted from civilian airliner to military transport. Huge four-engine high-wing aircraft originally designed for profitable civil airliner service. 4 800-horsepower Gnome-Rhone 14K radial engines, quickly adapted to serve as essential military transport, moving large quantities of troops and vital supplies across theater. Enormous size and substantial cargo capacity proved invaluable for French logistics operations. Clearly showed how civilian aviation infrastructure effectively supported urgent military operations during wartime. Transport capacity wins sustained campaigns. Hanriot H-232, the small hauler performing unglamorous but absolutely essential light cargo duties. Compact transport aircraft used specifically for light cargo and liaison operations. Single 370-horsepower Lorraine 7M inline engine. While not remotely glamorous or newsworthy, these small transports kept widely separated French airbases connected operationally, moved essential mail, critical spare parts, and important officers between geographically separated locations. The unglamorous but absolutely essential work of military aviation logistics. Every effective Air Force needs reliable workhorses. Caudron C-630, Simon, Saint-Exupéry's ride achieving fame through famous aviators' long-distance flights. Light, sleek, single-engine touring and liaison plane. Single 220-horsepower Renault 6Q inline engine reaching 186 miles per hour. Achieved considerable fame when famous writer and pilot Antoine de Saint-Exupéry used it for record-setting long-distance flights before war. During wartime, served vital liaison and communication roles across all theaters. Fast, economical, remarkably reliable. Personal touring aircraft becoming essential military messenger through practical necessity and urgent requirements. Potez 58, the communicator keeping commanders connected across vast operational distances. Small, dependable 3-seat monoplane used for essential communication and light observation duties. Single 230-horsepower Potez 9B inline engine. Not every military mission requires heavy bombers or fast fighters. Sometimes military operations simply need reliable communication between headquarters and frontline positions. Simple design, remarkable reliability, adequate availability. Quiet heroes of military aviation logistics operations, keeping commanders properly connected and accurately informed about changing battlefield conditions. Morane-Saulnier MS-230, where it all began, representing foundation of French pilot training. Iconic parasol wing monoplane served as primary basic trainer for entire French Air Force for over a decade. Single 230-horsepower Salmson 9, a radial engine. This was the exact aircraft on which most young French pilots learned fundamental flying skills and basic aerobatic maneuvers. Every fighter pilot who later flew advanced D-520 or MS-406 fighters first soloed successfully in trustworthy MS-230, the essential foundation of systematic French pilot training programs. Blériot-Spad S-510, the old trainer representing legacy of Great War aviation excellence. Biplane fighter design from early 1930s. Single 690-horsepower Hispano-Suiza 12X inline engine. By 1939, mostly relegated exclusively to training duties throughout France. Docile handling characteristics made it absolutely perfect for teaching novice pilots essential skills. Completely obsolete for combat operations, yet invaluable for systematic instruction programs. Many French pilots received first taste of military aviation in this rugged, forgiving biplane. Legacy directly from legendary Great War SPAD fighters. These reconnaissance, naval, and support aircraft formed the absolutely essential backbone of French air power throughout all theaters. Not remotely as glamorous as sleek fighters or powerful bombers, but absolutely essential for sustained military aviation operations. France's defeat wasn't fundamentally due to lack of aircraft numbers or pilot courage. Strategic leadership, operational doctrine, and catastrophic timing failed them repeatedly. Their aircraft fought bravely across all theaters. Their pilots died heroically defending their nation. Their legacy powerfully reminds us that even finest machines cannot overcome fundamentally flawed strategy, inadequate industrial mobilization, or catastrophically poor strategic timing during desperate circumstances.